As we were going to church on December 7th, 1941, we walked to church, and by the time we got to Manor Road, we heard these newsboys, extra, extra, you know, United States at war with Japan. And we all stopped, and we had to look at the paper and read the paper a little bit. And then by the time we got to St. Paul's, people were talking about it and everything, and Pastor Mance at the time had a prayer right off the bat before church for the war. On the way back, then we discussed a lot of other things, you know. What's going to happen to us now? Even though I was 13 and the rest of my buddies were 13, we knew that, you know, the war could go on until we were old enough to get into the war.
We really did not keep up with current events, except when we heard that there was this guy who was really becoming popular, and that Ed Sullivan was going to have him on his show. And the only TV that everybody, that wasn't really large, it was about this big, I think, but it was the biggest one on campus. And we had it in the dorm. At Stutman, we had it in the lounge. And so that Sunday night, I'll never forget, Stutman Lounge, there was no standing room. It was packed. Everybody came into the lounge that night to watch Elvis on Ed Sullivan's show. And of course, we all thought he was great.
And I was in the student center in the Boken camp giving blood, and the news came over the TV that the federal building had been bombed. That's, of course, shocking news to hear in any respect, but then having all those nurses and medical professionals around you reflecting on what that's going to do and what that's going to require, and it turned out that a number of those people there that day ended up going up to Oklahoma City to help out with the cause. And there's not a whole lot of other colleges and universities that you would be at where in a time of a national tragedy like that, you'd be able to go straight over to chapel and pray about it with your friends and your professors.
The attack on Pearl Harbor, Elvis's dramatic debut on American television, President Kennedy's assassination, man's first step on the moon, September 11th, 2001. Every day our lives are affected in many ways by the events that come to pass. In many cases, we will never forget where we were and what we were doing when these events transpired. We will remember the sights, the sounds, and the smells that filled the air when these things happened. These events spawn memories of happiness and sorrow, of joy and pain. It is neither the event nor the memory of the event that has the most profound impact on our lives throughout the years to come. The real and lasting impact is a result of how we react and the people with whom we share these reactions. For more than 75 years, Concordia and her students have experienced triumphs and tragedies that have affected people on this campus and around the world. And for every experience, there are those who cherish the fact that they were at Concordia when they heard the news.
I guess it was really like any national tragedy or any big tragedy. It just was a real tying together. Concordia is such a close-knit community already, but it just increases those bonds, makes people, certainly a topic for discussion, but even a topic for mourning. And people who have friends and relatives that may have been affected directly by such a tragedy, it gives you the opportunity to live like a family and grieve with them, and then in times of triumph, to triumph with them also.
From her first days on, Concordia has been a source of unity for all associated with her. Every year there are students whose lives on this campus are their first experience living away from the home and family they have grown up with for their entire lives. To develop new friendships, new bonds, and in many ways a new family is part of the natural course of events. Through this phenomenon, Concordia students prepare for themselves the core support group that will rejoice with them in personal victories and keep them strong through unanticipated hardships. This is something that does not change. From year to year, decade to decade, and now even spanning into a new century, this force of unity builds lasting and unforgettable bonds.
Our lives were shaped here on campus in 2 years. I think of that now as an adult, and I look back and think, my whole life really was shaped in 2 years on this campus.
And one thing I really enjoyed is on Reformation Day every year, the student body would get up before supper, before breakfast, stand out in front dressed in suits and sing a Mighty Fortress. One verse sometimes, 2 verses sometimes. And 36 boys singing, that's not a whole lot, especially since we're out in the country. But people did say they heard us around about in the neighborhood.
But this comfort and unity is not something that affects only the Concordia students. Faculty and staff, community leaders, and government officials all have felt the impact and the unity and the comfort that the Concordia community offers to all who know it. And when visitors leave this campus, they can often be heard saying, "There's something about this school that is different from any other school I've ever been to."
Being that Concordia is a Christian campus, it's just been amazing where I've had doubts about, am I in the right major, or is this what I should be doing with my life? And I know I could not experience at a secular school what I experienced here, and that's when I walked into my professor's office, the first thing he did was say, "Let's pray about it." And that's not going to happen anywhere else.
So what is it about this school and this community that has been able to create and maintain such solid and long-lasting effects from age to age? Perhaps it's a talented and dedicated faculty and staff, teachers whose concern and individualized attention bring their students to a new understanding of not only the coursework, but of the life lessons this work brings to light. Classes dedicated to shaping future leaders. An administrative staff who knows who you are when you walk past their office.
I can't imagine teaching in an environment, for example, where the spiritual and the emotional and the moral is not integrated into the academic. And I think a lot of people come here and are willing to pay the additional money because of the fact that they are being educated for life and being educated for meeting all their needs.
Or maybe it is the campus life that creates these ties. Groups and organizations that allow the students to become involved in making a difference in the areas they are interested in. Groups like the Student Government Association, collegiate athletics and intramural sports teams, and the choirs, the drama, and the musical groups. And still it could be the students themselves that make Concordia the type of place that stands the test of time. Perhaps Concordia students are just innately different and coincidentally are drawn together at this great institution. People who are natural-born leaders and unifiers.
We were always interested in what was going on at UT. And we were always invited to activities and things that were going on at UT. And we could use their library and their facilities, which we took every advantage of because there were lots of boys over there.
My roommate and I used to play a lot of golf. We called it golf. It was fun pitching them out on Killian Lawn. We would hit our pitching wedge and 9-irons back and forth and pick a tree that was our hole, and eventually we came up with a pretty good little course. But usually it was just he and I, and every once in a while another fellow would join us. But I remember that when Tiger Woods was going, when he won his first Masters, that day after that, right after the airing on TV, there were probably 7 or 8 guys out there hitting golf balls around Killian Lawn, I guess aspiring to become Tiger.
If you know Killian Hall at all, there was one room on top. If they stopped up the stopper up there and turned the water on, it actually flooded the dean's office down below. And they found out that happened, and I don't think it happened 2 or 3 times, But those type of situations, that things we shouldn't have done, but we did.
While all of these probably play some part, it is obvious that what makes the school, the teachers, the faculty, the curricula, the organizations, and the students unique is a fierce dedication to Christ and His church. From its humble beginnings preparing young men for the ministry, Concordia has held solid to the biblical teachings it was founded on. And still today, we can note that it is by grace alone, through faith alone, in Scripture alone, that we are able to say to the trials of this world, Christ will prevail. This is why our insignia is emblazoned with the Greek words en to theo poiezomen dynamin, which means, with God we will do mighty things.
What was special when I was here is probably what was special when everybody who has been here and everybody who's been here after me, is that it is a community that's built on Christ and in His church, and furthering the gospel message and getting it out through programs here at the school, bringing in new students, bringing in people who may not have had the exposure to the gospel message.
Getting a Christian education, I think. Some religion is taught to everybody that's here, and that's what's good about it.
But there is no public university that can offer the spiritual guidance and faith that many of our students gain after they come to Concordia.
This is what unites. Christ is the tie that binds. As we remember throughout the years where we were when disaster struck, or what we were doing when triumph prevailed, let's not forget who was there with us. Not only the people we saw cheering or heard crying, but also the God who held us in His hand through it all, and in whose hand we now rest, and in whose hand we decade by decade and day by day live each day of our lives. I'm Dr. Milton Reamer. Walk with light.
We have our lessons in the morning, our classes in the morning, sometime in the afternoon a little bit, and then from then on it was baseball or football or whatever the case may be until we had to eat in the evening. At that time our campus extended out to where the feeder road is on the other side of 35. We had a big campus here, and our baseball diamond was right there close to the feeder road. So we had to walk to get out there, to get a good walk to get out there. And then we played out there, and it was really a lot of fun. And one of the funniest things though too is when it gets real muddy, when it rains real good, you can slide from first to second base almost, you know.
And in those days, we had to keep the dorm clean. It was our job. And Dr. Beto was the president at that time, a wonderful man. But he was scared to death at the thought of these girls coming on campus. And so he had some pretty stringent rules. For one thing, we could not go to the to the dining hall on Saturday with our hair in curlers. We had to clean the dorms on Saturday, and when you clean dorms, you're not necessarily going to take your hair down and dress up to go to lunch at the dining hall. And I'll never forget one Saturday, he came into the dorm looking for our Dean of Women, Mildred Marone. And I was cleaning off the back steps, and he walked in, and I said, "Prof," I said, "doesn't your wife ever have her hair in curlers?" And he looked at me and he said, "Miss Harris, that's why I give her money to go to the beauty shop." And I said, "Well, we don't have money to go to the beauty shop." I said, "Please," I said, "can't you change that rule so that we can at least wear our hair rolled up on Saturday?" And he said, "I'll give it some thought." So sure enough, the next couple of weeks, the ruling came back that we could wear our hair in curlers on Saturday only to go to the dining hall.
Must have been very good golfers. Not hit any buildings or any windows.
I never said we didn't hit buildings or windows. I'll tell you later about the shot I hit over Killian into the stand trap on a sand volleyball court.
Can I admit this now? You just want me to tell it? Yeah. Okay. A mischievous thing that we did, I remember last year when we had just been able to get in, and we found a way up onto the roof, and we hung a huge banner down the side, and it just said "Go CUA Ball" because it was when all the CUA or all the Concordias came in to play baseball. So we just wanted to support our team in a better way. That's probably the most mischievous thing I've done. I try to stay out of trouble.
I've begun maintaining a file a few years ago about that contains letters from students, just writing back to say, "Doc, thanks. You remember me?" Of course I remember them. How can you not? I hardly forget anyone. But they'll recall an incident, which usually I will remember, or they will share something that made a difference in their life. And when a student does that, writing back maybe 10 years later and just writing to say thanks, that means a lot. So that's one of the unique, special things about this place.